Que Bola un tiburón?
From Cafeteria Film Studios in Miami, Florida, FreshOrPhresh presents Que Bola, where we talk to various movers and hustlers in South Florida who are popping off and succeeding, and in the process, how they're influencing the 305 culture. My name is Darwin Figueroa, and I am your host. I hope you enjoy this, and let's get into it, all right? Listo. Mic check. All right. So in this episode, first and foremost, I want to thank everybody for sticking by me this entire year. This is episode 25. This is the last episode of the season 1, last episode of the year. This is the last Thursday of the year, so I waited until the last Thursday of the year to drop the last episode, episode 25. We will be on hiatus for a month and a half, and then we'll come back with season 2, and it's going to be awesome. For episode 25, the last episode of the year, Mr. Burger Beast himself was so kind and gracious to come onto the show and talk to us. So episode 25 is the well-known foodie from South Florida, Burger Beast, el rey de la hamburguesa, ya tú sabes. This dude right here been putting in work since 2008. He's been going in hard. It's 10 years, and he's been doing his thing, you know, through chicken tenders, through burger competitions, through the burgies, through all of that. He still keeps going strong and keeps blowing up more and more. He's a really cool dude. This episode is chock full of dope-ass tidbits like food truck mafias. You know, it's just one of the things that's like, what the... It's a lot of different things that's in this episode. But yeah, I want to give a special thanks to Burger Beast for coming on and talking to us. So without further ado, this is the last episode of the year, episode 25. Burger Beast, let's get into it, all right? Listo. All right, so we're in a new episode of Que Bola featuring the one and only Seth Gonzalez. He is also known as Burger Beast. He is a killer here in Miami, el rey of los burgers. Thank you so much for coming on to Que Bola, man.
Thanks for having me.
No, I appreciate it for real, for you coming through, talking to us. It was a back and forth. And it was like a cool back and forth. You know, we were just talking about your last email to me. I was like, it totally threw me for a loop, but I was like, yo, there's two ways. Like, this guy's either super cool and he's like fucking around, or this guy's like, oh, tremendo come mierda. And I'm just like,
well, I think the thing is, most people at first think I'm tremendo come mierda.
Oh, okay.
Which is that, you know what? Hey, that's fine.
Yeah, I get it.
I'm all about jodiendo all the time. And if I can pull a prank on you, I will watch your back. Because now that we've met, my goal is to pull a prank on you.
Damn, that's what's up. It's like that. Shit, damn. I should have known before even requesting. I should have asked somebody else. Like, you know what I got to look out for.
Yeah, I met some. Who was it that recently? I was just busting chops with someone, and my friend was introducing me to the owners of Union Beer, and they I forgot what wisecrack I made, and they said to my friend, he's like, Is he an asshole?
Yeah.
Sorry, can I say that again?
Yeah, no, you can say whatever the fuck you want. No, this is totally explicit.
Yeah.
So, shit, fuck, motherfucker, all that shit.
Yeah, my podcast, which I only recorded 3 episodes, and I'm on like a current hiatus from that.
Yeah.
It was the same way. I just
say
whatever you want.
Because there's too much, this is the way that I speak, so I'm not going to like alter the way that I speak in order to find like a certain audience. It's like, no, the audience that I speak to is me. Like, so I'm going to speak how I speak, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I curse all the time.
Yeah. Not only that, but I say like tremendo disparate, and I say like shit in Spanish, English, everyth's like, and it's like, this is our language. You know, it's something that is like original to us.
Oh, yeah. What, is this like some sort of prison in here?
No. This is the conference room at Cafeteria Films. It kind of feels like prisonerish, right? I thought about that.
Like, so they can watch you. This is those movies where they capture someone and so they can watch them. They're in like a
glass
cage.
You're the third person that's told me that is like, yo, this shit is right here is like an interrogation room. I feel like I'm about to get fucking grilled. I'm like, nah, man, relax, chill. That's funny. Dog, so let me know about like more or less, did you grow up in South Florida before you were a blogger and stuff like that? Or
I was born in New York.
Okay.
I was there a very short time, only about a year and a half.
All right.
I didn't want to live there. No, I'm just kidding. In the mid-'70s, New York was not the safest place to be to have a family. And my parents made the decision to move my sister and I to Miami. Mm-hmm. Perfect timing, just, into coming with all the drug problems here in Miami to move from New York to Miami, which if you haven't seen Cocaine Cowboys, kind of documents that perfectly. Shout out to Billy Corbin. And we moved here in 76, I think it was. And I was just a year and a half old, and I've been here since. You'll never hear me reference that I'm from New York. I don't. I consider myself a Miami guy.
I heard a lot of people who like come through when they're like in 10th grade or 9th grade and we're like New York. And I'm like, okay, I get it. But like if you got here like super young and you were raised basically in South Florida, like your affinity should be to South Florida, you know?
Yeah, I'm a Westchester guy. I always say that.
So you went to Southwest?
No, I went to Rockway.
Okay. Rockway
my
Middle.
mother was adamant that they put me in private school. I went to Belen for 4 years.
Okay.
Then I went to St. Brendan. I graduated from St. Brendan.
All right. So you did 4 years in Belen. Yeah.
And then 2
Belen,
years at St. Brendan.
That's cool, man.
Yeah. And
definitely Westchester as fuck.
Yeah.
Westchester, no place bester.
Yeah, and I especially since I have the Burger Museum.
Yeah.
My obsession is all the restaurants that were in Westchester, and for me to drive people around. As a matter of fact, we're planning a tour that starts next year. It's a historical food tour. We'll take you on a bus, and no, it's just mostly Miami. We'll drive you around and point where things were, and be like, hey, this used to be this.
Yeah.
Like La Carreta. There's two places that they always film when some Helengue happens here in Miami, right? They either film Versailles,
or La Carreta,
right, or La Carreta in '87 and Bird, and that used to be a Black Angus steakhouse back in the day.
Oh shit, I didn't know that.
Yeah, and then like the bank next to Arbetters used to be a Royal Castle, and like the Pollo Tropical used to be a Hardee's. I mean,
my girl's cousin owns the farm store right there on Bird, right next to Arbetters. I love farm store. Yeah,
I love farm stores.
He's the owner of that farm store, and I'm just like, damn, man. That's like a historical point, right? He's like, yeah, but I need people to come through here and buy some bread and milk, bro.
Are they like the updated? Because the new farm stores have, they have the warm bread, they have croquetas.
Yeah, he has all of that. He has all that stuff right next to our bed. It's crazy. So you were from Westchester. I was actually raised in Westchester myself. I went to Tropical Elementary. I was supposed to go to Riviera, but then I moved down south. I moved to Cutler Ridge and Goulds. This was like 92 because of Hurricane Andrew. So during Andrew,
you said it right because you said Cutler Ridge. You didn't say Cutler Bay.
Yeah, that's true.
You're a ridge rat.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like you were raised when it was Cutler Ridge, and all of a sudden it's Cutler Bay. Like, come on, bro. It's not like you can't just switch up history like that. I went to South Ridge, bro. I didn't go to South Bay. You know what I mean?
Well, Westchester was kind of like, that area is actually called Olympia Heights, right? Yeah. And if you notice, like the school that's right near Pincho Factory is called Olympia Heights Elementary.
My sister went to that school.
Technically, I think the side Pincho Factory's on, I know they're going to kill me for saying that's not really Westchester. It's actually Olympia Heights.
Yeah, it is. It's right there where the
Rio Cristal is.
Yeah, where the Rio Cristal.
La Papita.
And the Presidente and the Flanagans. So yeah, man. So how did you stumble? We just like go straight into the food. Like, how did you stumble into the food thing? Like, did you start? Okay, did you say you wanted to start a blog? Like, because you just genuinely love food? Like, that's
a good joke. Come on.
No, I mean, I love food too. It's not size. It's just like, is it like your passion is like the taste? Is that like where did that come about? Like, how did you decide? Okay, I'm gonna start this blog. And I'm gonna name it Burger Beast out of all things because there's so much different kinds of foods in South Florida. So you decided on focusing in on the Burger Beast part.
So both are the same answer, and it's my wife. So I worked at a Metro PCS. I was a store manager in Coral Gables, and I kind of got tired of all the politics involved. I didn't feel like I was gonna get promoted, and I kind of felt like things were I was being held down, and I would just get home frustrated. If this was like a Lifetime movie, I'd be sitting at the edge of my bed crying, frustrated. My wife, comes and comforts me. And I don't even know why I said Lifetime because I don't watch Lifetime. Yeah. But I wanted it to be very dramatic. Yeah. And she said, as an outlet, why don't you try writing about your food experiences? Because even when we were going on vacations with our friends, I would plan out the vacation. I'd be like, these are all the places we're going. These are the places we're eating. And I knew what days we were doing what. And,
that's good and that's bad, bro. That's good and that's bad because I've been on those experiences sometimes and it's really good when it comes through. But when, like, the plans fall through, it's bad because it's like, fuck, we have to keep the schedule going. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's like, it's hard to like keep everything on the list. If you're okay with like, okay, we're going to scratch this one off.
Yeah, we scratch stuff off all the time.
I have friends that are like, no, I got to go to this place and taste this shit. I'm like,
even when we would go to Vegas, my friends wanted like, hey, let's walk from, I'm like, look, we can either walk, which you can, or if we rent a car, because not that many people do that, we can get around much faster and we can see way more things and do more things. So I'd rent a car, pull up into a hotel, go in there. Okay, let's go. And now we're on the Strip. We're like, let's go to downtown. And we go to downtown, spend a few hours, then go to the Hard Rock, and then we're able to be a little more mobile.
That's what's up.
And it makes it easier to get around. But she suggested I write about my food experiences. I was trying to rack my brains. I wanted it to revolve around burgers because I had that obsession as a kid always.
Okay. So the burger thing was like from birth.
Right. Okay. And so she's the one who decided to call it Burger Beast. Okay. And she said, which is, kudos to her. I mean, that's a great name.
Yeah, it is a good name.
Because I had no say in the name and like the idea. Yes, at the end of the day, I wrote all the stuff and everything. But if she hadn't planted the idea in my head, it wouldn't have grown from there. And I'd say the good first 2.5, 3 years, it was pretty much me by myself. I kind of started writing about burgers, but there wasn't really a burger thing going on yet. That burger quote unquote revolution didn't really happen for another 1.5 years. So I kind of was really struggling to find places to write about. I was going to
ask you about that because I noticed that on your website, you start mentioning like it says Este 2008, but like you first start showing accolades like around 2010. So I'm like, all right, so it was like 2 years of struggle there that she was going through.
The thing is, so you're like, I'm here trying to find places to write about, and there's no burger places per se. There were places that had been around forever that people knew, Flanagan's, Keg South, stuff like that. But there wasn't. And then I said, well, let me start writing about the frita. And what happened is when I started writing about the frita and croquetas, and then I noticed everyone would get excited because no one else was writing about it. So no one in the Herald writing about it. There was no one in the New Times. No one else was really covering that. And that became my focus. I was like, let me write about the stuff I know because I do know that, obviously being Cuban, about that kind of food. And then I would do, and when my blog turned 1 year old, I decided I wanted to do an awards.
Okay.
And everything's, like Grammy, so I call mine Burgies.
Okay.
And we gave out like, best croqueta and best frita cubana and all this stuff. And from there, the Burgies, which we haven't done it in 2 years, we kind of retired it a few years ago. But I'm thinking about bringing it back next year. And we've done stuff like best bistec milanesa. I mean, best arepa. And my wife's Nicaraguan, best fritanga, that sort of thing,
So your blog now has basically blown up, has exploded. A lot of people are coming in contact with the content that you're creating. And you're exploding and you're exploring like other aspects in other cities and other areas like Central Florida. I see you and I see you in other states. I want to ask you, like, how does the translation of the foods that we eat go over there? Like, how does that work? Like, how does Central Florida, do they have croquetas over there? Like,
I have not encountered Tampa. There's a lot of Cubans over there. It's kind of hard. They don't have like a lot of croquetas casera. They're using Catalina, which is kind of the brand you find in most Cuban bakeries down here. Catalina, as a matter of fact, headquarters is Tampa, so you're gonna find that all over the place. But the cool thing is, like, I went last year and I drove up to a place called Alvaton, Kentucky, and I went to a place called Boyce General Store. It was a general store that opened in the late 1800s.
Okay.
And this couple had just bought it 5 or 6 years earlier, and super cool people. And I went there and I had a pimento cheeseburger and I talked to them. And every year I do a burger competition. And I told them, man, you should come to Miami.
Yeah.
I would love for you guys to come to Miami and do my competition. And this year they came in March. They competed. And the night they got there, I took them to eat Cuban food. Yeah. They loved it. I took them the next morning to Mago La Fritas for breakfast. They had fritas. They had chicharrones. Oh. And they had croquetas. And
it's such a crazy experience. Like, could you imagine the first time you had that? Like, you never, like, we grew up eating that shit, you know what I'm saying? But could you imagine, like, the first time you have a chicharrón, what that must be like? You're from fucking, God knows where.
They were blown away. And so I'm going to be up there in May, and we're going to be doing a frita dinner. We're going to be making fritas together.
You're going to fuck their brains up.
And I'm taking, my dad works for Chifles, the mariquitas and stuff. So we're going to be bringing Chifles up there and some mariquitas. And we're going to take, hopefully, Jupiña, Mateba.
Wow, a lot of brains are going to be blown on that evening.
Yeah, it's fun, man. It's fun to do that.
So you feel like a pioneer, kind of like a pioneer of like Latin mixed food here from Miami to other parts.
Yeah, I think that when you go to places that are not familiar with Hispanic food, I would say they always, for some reason, always think Mexican first. And that's.
It's not for some reason. It's the reason is that the vast majority of Latins outside of South Florida are from Central America, are Mexican, Guatemalan, Honduran. The vast majority is like here in South Florida, we have a good mixture of a lot of Latin Americans from like the Caribbean and from South America. There's not that much represented outside of here. You know, there's not other cities like, especially in Texas or in California. The vast majority are Mexican, Nicaraguan. My brother-in-law is Nicaraguan. My sister lives in San Francisco. She met him and he's Nicaraguan. My sister's Colombian. You know what I'm saying? So it's like my nephews now are half Nicaraguan, half Colombian, but they grew up in Cali, so they have all that Mexican cholo feel. So it's like, it's different. It's completely different. I love their vibe though. But it's like, we're still Hispanic. We still speak Spanish, but it's like completely different sazons. You know what I'm saying? So like when you reference Miami in itself and you push Miami, it's like that kind of seasoning. You know what I'm saying? It's like that kind of sazon, and you're putting in it, and you're like taking it to the middle of America where they haven't really experienced us before. You know?
Yeah, I think it's interesting when you go to, for example, Orlando, and my friend, I can't remember the name of it now, and he's like, "You gotta try this. It's a Colombian burger, and it's got pineapple." Yeah. And it's like, come on, bro. I mean, that's
exactly. It's like,
I'm like, get with the program. Those are everywhere here in Miami, man.
That's like 12 years ago, bro. You're like 15 years late, dog.
I remember the first time I tried that was Mao. Right there in Westchester.
Yeah.
And my friend's like, there's a place there, and they put pineapple, and they put all these sauces.
Yeah.
And I was like, what? Pineapple? That is odd.
Yeah, no. The Colombian, I remember the first time I had a Colombian hot dog, I was in Medellin at a bus stop with my dad, and I was probably like 8 years old. And we were getting on like this Greyhound-ish. Like in Colombia, they have like these bus stops, you know, so it's like you're going from one city to the other. And dog, I will never forget that hot dog, yo. The bread, the chips on it, the fucking the pineapple, all it like blew my. And I was from Miami, like I was like raised here, but like I would go back and forth, you know what I'm saying, to Colombia during the summers. That hot dog, I've never had that experience before, again. You know what I'm saying? I tried to recreate it, and it's come close, but it's never been the same as that hot dog. And I think it's just like one of those things from memory. You know what I'm saying? So like that goes into my next question. When you're experiencing different foods, do you feel that you're coming at it from a brand new perspective, like you have a clean slate, or do you feel like that it's hard for you to like clean your palate because you've experienced so many good, like dope foods from like South America, Central America, cachapas, arepas.
Oh my God, cachapas! Don't get me started on that.
You know what I'm saying? Like all those things. How do you differentiate your taste buds? Like, okay, I'm gonna come into it's not gonna be the experience of a pan de bono. I guarantee you that. But it's gonna be like I gotta experience
pan de bono with guava inside of it.
Bro, you know what I've been thinking about? I've been, for real, for the last 3 weeks, I've been thinking about doing a pan de bono with a croqueta in the middle. Like a croqueta pan de bono.
Okay, so not only have I done that,
okay,
I convinced a food truck to make a pan de bono burger. Yeah.
What? Get the fuck out of here. As the buns?
Yeah.
Who's that guy?
Daddy, he's actually, the food truck is called Daddy's Grill, and they have a little restaurant in Hialeah. I think if you asked him over there, I'm sure he might make it for you.
Oh, okay. So it's like a specialty. He doesn't have it on the menu.
Yeah, he doesn't have it on the menu, because I used to do a lot of competitions with the food trucks when I used to, when the thing was, 2011, 2012, when the food truck stuff was hot, and I would do burger competitions or taco competitions. And sometimes people couldn't come up with ideas, so I would pitch an idea to them. Hey, you know what you should do? You should do.
What is a croqueta pan de bono like? Did you have it?
Yeah.
What was that like? I keep thinking about like, how do you do it? Like, it just keeps coming in my head over and over.
Well, the way I did it was I just sliced it and then I slid the croqueta inside.
Oh, okay. So you guys didn't cook it together?
No, I didn't cook it together.
Oh, that's what I was thinking. Like, how do you cook that together? Because the croqueta has to be fried.
Right. You probably might have to bake the croqueta, even though that kind of changes the taste a little bit. And then, smuggle it in there.
So how do you approach with your taste buds different things when you're tasting it? Like, what's your approach on that?
I think it's kind of difficult because you kind of like, if someone tells you, hey, this is this, you already in your mind have an idea of what you think it's going to taste like.
Yeah.
So seldom do you kind of get blown away because you're like, yeah, this is not going to be better than that thing.
Exactly. Yeah. It's like when you leave Miami and you compare every place to Miami. It's like, it's not going to be better than Miami. You say you got palm trees in the sun and good food.
I mean, look, when we were in Lexington, we spent about a week, my wife and I and my friend John spent a week in Lexington, Kentucky. We went to this barbecue place that just like rocked our world. I mean, we were just like, what?
Yeah.
What's it called? I think it was called the Blue Door Smokehouse.
All right.
And it was so good that the next day we were going to go get breakfast, and my wife was waking up late, and we had rented an apartment somewhere, and so John and I went to go get breakfast, and we were trying to figure out where we had to go, and we're like, hey, you know that this barbecue place opens again in 15 minutes. So she wakes up and we're gone, and then she's like texting, where are you guys? Oh, we'll be back. And we ate our food there. Like, we went to the barbecue, and the guy's like, didn't you come here with? I go, yeah, we left my wife asleep. We just came over today. And then we brought her for breakfast, like barbecue. Yeah, that was just. Yeah, and it's funny because, like you said, like even though there's a plan, it changes because we'll be in a city, and someone might say, "Hey, if you're here," it's kind of like here. Someone says, "Oh my God, you're here. You're not going to eat this," and you're like, "Why? Is it that something I have to eat?" And then, I try to stay away from all the tourist traps. Yeah,
that's what I was about to ask you. Like when you have somebody come through, what are the quintessential places that you bring them?
I think they always have to try a frita.
Okay, you think frita has to be on the menu?
I think a frita has to. If I can, I'll take them to a fritanga. Okay. I think that's also a different experience.
Caña Brava?
Oh, yeah. All the way. You know what's going on. Yeah. Or we go to Sweetwater, and then you can do a rapado loli down there. But, yeah. Caña Brava is...
Yeah, it's fire.
Yeah, that's... I'll tell you a funny story about that. I was driving down Northwest 7th, and I look, and I see Caña Brava, and I told my wife, hey... There's a Nicaragua. I go, there's a fritanga there I've never noticed before. I think I'm going to go eat there. And she goes to me, what do you know about that? She actually said that. What do you know about that? I go, fine. And then a couple weeks pass. She tells me her sister-in-law, oh, my God, Milagros found this really great fritanga. I go, oh, cool. What's its name? And when she told me, I go, come on. That's the place I told you about a few weeks ago. But now because you're, a Nicaraguan tells you it's good. But because I said it, it's not.
It's like, you're not official enough to say it's good. I
like fritangas also because it's an experience dealing with the ladies in there.
I love fritangas, man. I started eating fritangas really like around high school. That's when I have a lot of Nicaraguan friends. So we would go out. We would end up at Yambo. I have pictures of me on top of the horse from Yambo back in the day. And then when you go out drinking, you go to Yambo late night. It was popping. Pinolandia was popping late night. Like 4 o'clock in the morning, you get and that's the best kind of food when you're like, a little tipsy-turvy. You get super fucking, it's fattening, like carbs and shit. So that's just gonna like dry you up real quick,
Do you go to the more like Los Ranchos?
No.
Nicaraguan?
No.
Have you been there?
I've been to Los Ranchos. I mean, but
they have a killer steak that's like $30.
Yeah.
And then you're like,
It's not the same experience. You know what I'm saying? Like, you get the queso frito, you see all the quesos there, like, sitting, you see which one's fresh. All right, so let's get a little bit back into your blog. When you decide you're going to write something on a piece, how does that work? Like, what are the ins and outs? Do you reach out to the person first? Does somebody reach out to you? Do you, like, go eat their food first, like, secretly? Or, like, you send somebody?
I do not announce myself. I do not tell people who I am. I mean, at this point, I've been doing it long. People know, most people, if they're interested in what I'm, they know who I am. Mm-hmm. I don't announce myself. I don't get there and I'm like, I have arrived.
The burger beast is here. Slave.
I have a friend of mine who did that when we were in Orlando at a restaurant, and he told them, please let him know. And I'm gonna call him out right here. My friend Julius, his blog's called Julius.
Okay.
And he goes, please let him know that blogger Julius is here. And I go, you really just fucking did that? I go, with me here. So when he gets to Miami, I'll usually do fake horns and like, here yeah.
To the court.
Yeah. I'm not all about I like to pay for my meals. I don't like to get the stuff comped. I like to support the local businesses. I get invited to a lot of places. I do not take up. I probably take up maybe 1 out of 100 invites. I stick to pretty much writing. We're in Little Havana right now. Little Havana. I don't really delve into Brickell too much. The Design District. I write about the undercovered areas of Miami. So I do
like Kendall, kind of the blue collars.
Yeah, Miami Springs, Medley, Hialeah, Kendall, Cutler Bay,
Cutler Bay,
Palmetto Bay, Pinecrest. Homestead, Florida City. That's my stuff.
All right,
and I don't deviate from there. If you really pay attention, if I ever go to Wynwood, you'll see people start posting, "Hey, what are you doing there?" Like, I thought you don't go.
You're
there.
Not a Wynwoodie. You're not repping the Wynwood. Yeah. I mean, Wynwood was what it was like a long time ago, but I mean, I feel like it's been just paved over, and it's just not.
I like to say hoard out.
It has been hoard out. It's just like, and it's cool, but it's also at the same time like it's very fake. So like, since this veneer that wasn't there, it's just like it doesn't have any more culture of its own. Now it's just like corporate culture, you know. It's like whatever like the storefront looks like. Back when it was Wynwood, it was dope as fuck because shit was like just outside of it had its own culture, its own scene, it had its own thing. Now it's just been paved over, so it's cool for like to take your like a date night or something.
Yeah, there's a lot of great food there. I mean that I don't deny, but I kind of feel like for me when I started getting a following, my thing was like, well, everyone's writing about Wynwood and everyone's writing about the beach and Brickell and the Design District, and I'd rather stick to writing about these other places, you know, going down deep into West Kendall and, you know, writing about Mr. and Miss Bun if you've never been there. You know,
where's that?
It's like Miller 150 something.
Miller and 150 something. Eso es por allá retirado.
Oh man, but you know, you go down and you find these really cool places, and they're all, and I get to meet the owners, and it's kind of nice, man, to be able to talk to the owners and not deal with some corporate machine. There are some nice giant companies. I mean, I can tell you, Shake Shack, without a doubt, some of the nicest people in the world. Yeah. You know, and they want to be, you know, there's one in the Gables, and they want to be part of the community. You know, they do things for community, raise stuff for charities locally. Yeah. They want to be part of the community. They're not just coming in here and sucking the money out of the area. You know, they want to, you know,
that's
create
cool
dishes and stuff with people.
That's good to know. I didn't know that Shake Shack had that kind of like community outreach for reals.
Yeah, and so that's when they're like that, it's cool. But you know, South Miami is another great place that's got a lot of food. You know, Umbrella is about to open there. You know, if you heard about that, it's a food hall that's opening. A friend of mine's opening it.
Oh, that's what's up, man. I love those food halls, bro. The food halls are I've been to Italy in Chicago. Dude, I was staying like around the corner when I was staying on Magnificent Mile, right around the corner. I decided, I was like, okay, we're gonna fucking rent a place, and it's gonna be right here because like we could walk to Italy. We were literally going there like every day for lunch or dinner, either one of the other meals. We would go have like dope ass food everywhere else, but like to say when you're like, oh, I'm hungry, get up, walk to the Italy, get a little sandwich, whatever, and come back. It was so dope. I love those food halls. So like when you put things together, like in terms of your events, how does that work, yo? Like, do you decide I'm gonna curate this to like how I want it to be?
Yeah, no one tells me who's in the events. I choose. It's 100% chosen by me. We had a sponsor, and I'm not gonna shit on them here publicly, even though they fucking ignored me. All right. After the event, that part of their sponsorship, they wanted to choose 5 of the participants in Hamburger House Party. Mm-hmm. I told Budweiser. I mean, I told.
You told them, you couldn't.
I told them. I didn't. My wife actually told them that's not happening. And they didn't take. They weren't too happy.
So it's all curated to your taste.
Yeah. It's. I try to do a very rounded thing. So like Hamburger House Party is all beef. All beef burgers. Mm-hmm. So like if someone says, "Hey, I'm doing a turkey burger," I go, "Well, first of all, there is no such thing. Yeah. Don't even tell me a vegan burger or any of that bullshit because that does not exist. That's a fucking sandwich. Don't
so you don't consider the bean burgers? Those are what? Those are sandwiches. Bean burgers.
Those are patty sandwiches.
Patty sandwiches. I like the way you describe a patty sandwich.
To me, there's only one kind, and it's ground beef, and that's it. And so that's the only thing I allow. Like you can maybe mix chorizo in with, I'll allow that. Pork. But any of those shenanigans, I'm not up for. Okay. And so I invited Boy's General Store, and then there were some guys who came from Brazil called Luz Camera Burger, and they came to do. And normally, 99% of the time, I have to try your burger before I invite you.
Okay, so you have to try it first.
The Luz Camera Burger was an instance where they're from Brazil. They came to see the museum, and then they said, "We want to be in your event." And it turns out the burger was really great, but I was like, I didn't want to pass off the opportunity to have someone from Brazil participate. Yeah. So, and then this year we had someone from Orlando. We had boys who came down from Kentucky, and we had them from Brazil. Now I have 2 or 3 restaurants that want to be in it next year from Brazil.
That's what's up, yo.
You know what I mean? And then I have someone coming from Jacksonville and someone from Naples. And
that's like a burger event. So like burgers are really popular. But how about like the croqueta palooza? So that's all local.
Croqueta, I've tried. We had Croquette who won last year. Okay. They're from Texas, but they're original Miami guys.
All right.
They came and they actually won the People's Choice, and that event is I strive for the burger event to be my event, like the thing I'll be known for. Yeah. But it's not. The Croqueta Palooza is. Yeah. I think it has so many things going for it, including the name. Yeah. I didn't come up with the name because I'm always very clear. I love to give people credit when it's deserved. My friend Christina coined that phrase. All right. She might still have a blog where she would write Nita Villapol. I don't know if you're familiar with Nita Villapol. No, she was a very well-known chef in Cuba, and then she has a cookbook. And she's been little by little cooking all the dishes on her blog from the book. And then she invited me when she was doing the croquetas, and she coined on her blog, she called it Croqueta Palooza. And someone said, is that a thing? I remember some friend of hers wrote, is that a thing? And then I told her, one day I'm going to make an event. In I think 4 years later, I did Croqueta Palooza.
That's what's up, man. The Croqueta Palooza, bro, I'm going to tell you, man. That shit, if you guys haven't gone, you got to definitely go next year. I was thinking, how do you come up with these events? How do you decide who's going to be in it? Now I see more or less it's just like a coalition of your friends and you going through these experiences and saying, okay, this is more or less something that I want to put forth in my brand and what's core to me. You know what I'm saying? So good food. I see that the core of your brand and of Burger Beast is good food. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So it's always revolving around the good food, right?
It's also important that, I have this thing that I kind of feel more responsible for building a community where these people all get along with each other. And when you see these restaurants get together for the events, it's kind of like high school, Coño, I haven't seen you since, this, you know what I mean?
But I was this came up in my head. Just like in high school, there's beef. Is there beef in between there's food trucks?
There's beef between food trucks. There's beef with me and restaurant owners, with chefs.
Oh, okay. So you guys get beef también?
Oh yeah. I've had my life threatened a few times.
Over food.
I had a guy who, man, if I could tell you his name and I don't remember it, I would say it because I don't give a shit.
Some guy.
He had a trailer. This is 2011, and he had a trailer, and he was doing pizza. He would do it out of this trailer that he had brought over from Italy, and then he would put up a tent and a table, and then he would make the pizzas on a table, like a table from your house, and then he would throw it into the oven. Yeah. And that's not a food truck. Sorry, I fucking hate to break it to you, And he wanted to do the Hard Rock event. And Hard Rock had very stringent rules when I was curating the Hard Rock event, that it had to be self-contained unit. Yeah. You had to serve, and they didn't even want food trailers. It had to be a truck. Yeah. So this guy writes me, and I tell him, no, you can't do the event. The guy gets pissed at me. Then he does a charity event with the Hard Rock. So Hard Rock lets him donate all this food. Pizza, yeah. And he donates all this pizza, all his time. And then he thinks now he's going to get in. He doesn't realize that doesn't change what their ground rules are. Yeah. So I gets pissed at me, even though I'm not the one setting the ground rules. Hard Rock is. But I can't be like, well, fuck him, take it up with Hard Rock, because then he's going to fuck up the event. Because then he's going to cause an issue, and then Hard Rock's not going to want to do the event, and it's going to affect everybody else. Yeah. So I have to think always of what the greater good is, right? And be like, well, I'm going to have to be the fall guy for this shit. And the guy just starts telling me that, he starts threatening me. And then he starts telling me that he knows people that I don't want to meet. That's actually what I'll never forget that line. Because I was like, this is absolutely ridiculous.
That's the mob, bro. You was fucking with the Sicilian. I made a pizza for the Sicilian mob back in the day.
And people will just come threaten you. I've had people who show up at Arts Park, which we still do that event every Monday in Hollywood. It's going on this weekend. I stopped going to the event. My wife sets up the event because people will come find me and be like, oh, I want to do this event. Okay, I have a page. You can fill out the information. You send it to me. And it says because people don't understand, right? There's 10 trucks doing arepas. I can't put 10 trucks doing arepas at an event. Exactly. And I'm not going to be dealing with 10 trucks doing arepas. So whoever I've been dealing with is who I use. And I rotate two. I have two, and then 1 week it's one, and one's the other way. And it's kind of like that. There's no need for me to have 17 arepa trucks, and I'm here trying to keep...
Yeah, you got to curate the event. Everybody has to have different tastes.
But they don't understand that. They think that this guy hates me, or it's not that. My thing also is how about you think a little bit before you spend 50, 100K on a truck and look at what food's out there. Yeah. And realize that there's not competition for you. And these things come on in waves. For a while, there was no Venezuelan arepa trucks. And then all of a sudden, gaboosh, and then there's no Colombian fast food. And then all of a sudden, a bomb drops. And then there's no barbecue trucks. And now all of a sudden, there's 20 barbecue trucks.
I hope that the Korean barbecue truck explosion happens soon, because I missed that shit out in L.A.,
You're going to be waiting a long time for that. Korean barbecue trucks. Thing is, all the really great special trucks don't last. Yeah.
Why is that?
Come up, because look, man, it got hoarded out so fast when the scene started. I tried my best to protect it and curate the events, but there were other people producing events, and they didn't care. So they do an event. There's 10 trucks, and there's 4 people doing shaved ice. Why is there even a shaved ice truck? But I mean, that's a whole other. But they have 4. So then imagine that's your first food truck experience. You're not going to go back. You're going to be like, what is it? What's the hype about this? I don't get it. And then all these people who saw the lines and said, well, I can do that. And then they go to Costco and buy like the frozen burgers.
Yeah.
And then just the quality started dropping. When the initial group of trucks were incredible. You know, you're talking when Ingrid Hoffman was involved with Landburger, when Gastropod, Sakaya Kitchen, La Camaronera, Jefes, The Rolling Stove, Nacho Mamas, who else was on? Latin House. Miss Cheesy's was even the first wave. Miss Cheesy's got in there about a year after.
Yeah.
Miss Cheesy's was the second wave. The second wave was still awesome, too.
Yeah, it was still good.
Yeah. It was the waves after that.
Yeah, that wasn't that
Someone should have been drowning those waves.
That's fucking crazy, dude. So there's beef between the trucks and there's beef.
Oh, yeah, man.
That's fucking nuts, man.
Oh, my God. And then I'll tell you a funny story. So here's a funny story. We started... Tanya owns this company called Food Cart USA.
Okay.
She's probably going to melt that I mentioned her company on here. And she got this lot on 65th and Bird, and she says, we're going to be able to park trucks there. Do you want to curate it? And another thing important for me to note, I did all this food truck stuff for a year without making 1 cent. So I was just involved trying to help build, the scene. And so she says, look, you want to curate it, but she says the first event's going to be Landburger, La Camaronera, which is called the Fish Box, and Dim Sum A Go-Go, which is a Kaya Kitchen's truck. Because those trucks were built by her. So obviously her thing at the end of the day is she just wants to sell trucks. But she also wanted the scene to
explode. Yeah.
So we start doing that on Tuesdays. And I saw, I'd say at least 3 or 4 accidents happen.
What do you mean, like?
Because people were driving by 65th and Bird, and they're like, what is that? Because no one knew what a food truck was.
Okay.
And people, these rubberneckers are driving by, and then they're just crashing into each other. They were just like slowing down, like to see like what exactly is going on there. That's not the story. The story is this. We started adding days. So we started doing Wednesday, Thursday. But ultimately, those 3 trucks ended up being so popular as a group that they kind of like, how could I say?
They monopolized the scene.
You know anything about Hulk Hogan? He didn't want to lose his matches, right? It was kind of like no one else is going to come into Tuesdays with us, right?
Yeah.
And I was friends with all 3 of them. We actually they nicknamed us behind the scenes the Food Truck Mafia. You can actually Google it and probably find stuff about people hating on us.
The Food Truck Mafia.
The Food Truck Mafia, absolutely.
Yo, city.
And then these other, I started doing like Wednesdays and Thursday. I don't think we ever did the weekends because weekends they had gigs elsewhere. But it was idea so they'd have some money coming in during the week.
Yeah.
And then there's a truck called Jefes. Fish tacos. Awesome truck. He wanted to do Tuesdays. Yeah. And then Tanya, who had also built his truck, said, well, you can't do it. Or she tried pinning it off on me, like talk to Sav, like knowing that I couldn't do anything about it. So he got pissed and he parked across the street on a Tuesday. So they're in the lot and he's parked across the street. Well, someone called the cops on him.
On him?
On him.
Okay.
It was rumored that it was one of the 3 trucks. Could have been, I don't know who it was. I was not there that day, but they called the cops on him.
Mafia.
He was told, the Food Truck Mafia, that's right. And then he was actually told to leave. All right. So he got so pissed. 2 weeks later, he starts an event on Tuesdays.
All right.
On one something. It was actually, by the way, you could not even do events there. I don't know how he got away with it. He started parking there by himself. And then all these trucks that weren't allowed or were like, honestly, a lot of really fucking shitty. There was one truck, I'll never forget, I think it was called Dos Locos. Okay. That the guy had a home refrigerator and it was tied with rope to the wall.
That's a song, bro. That's hood rig fucking truck right there.
And it was only wrapped, like the front 3/4 of it was wrapped and everything else was not.
That's fucking crazy, dude.
No, imagínate. And so he starts doing together, and then he calls it the Biscayne Triangle Truck Roundup, BTTR. All right. And he would say, BTTR, better than anything else going on Tuesdays. Yeah. Of course, shooting on the other guys. Yeah. What ends up happening?
Mafia.
the BTTR ends up getting kicked out of there, and then they start doing it at Johnson and Wales.
All right.
This is a history lesson, food truck history lesson for people who didn't even know how they ended up moving.
Yeah.
They got invited, and then they started Johnson and Wales. Then Johnson and Wales became hot.
Yeah.
Then the 65th lot, they started telling them they couldn't park there anymore. They started permitting them, telling them they couldn't park. They shut it down. So then these guys
took over Tuesday.
They went. Then they joined Johnson and Wales. And they were on friendly terms, but it was always there was an uneasy issue.
They started off with beef, yo.
Yeah.
That's nuts.
And then I was kind of caught in the middle because I was friends with all these people. And
you're just trying to put on for the scene. You're just like, yo, I'm trying to put on for the scene. I'm in the middle.
What's funny is that people don't realize, like, oh, you're with this. It's like, bro, I wasn't making any money. So, I mean, it's not like I have money in this.
Yeah, I have nothing invested in this outside of the scene growing and shit.
Except that I was a member of the Mafia.
Yeah, Mafia. You never know, bro. Food truck mafia, dog. So when you go and experience a place, right? All right. First of all, do you think that food, when it's in the restaurant, tastes better than when it's takeout?
I would say most of the time.
Oh, so like 90% of all right. So do you incorporate the experience of what you're gonna have of the service into the food, or you just like separate that? Because it's hard for me. I'm asking you for me because it's hard for me to separate it. Like if I'm gonna pay you for a burger and the burger's gonna be like $16, I'm gonna fucking I'm gonna expect a good service alongside the good food. You know what I'm saying? If like for that, I'll just go have a burger somewhere else. You know what I'm saying? But like, how do you differentiate those things, or do you just say, okay, I'm gonna judge the chef of this burger by himself, and then I'm gonna judge like the experience by itself, and then like how does that work?
I'm about to tell you, I don't really care about the experience, the service side of it, to be quite honest with you. I also don't go during busy periods, so I go to a place right when it opens, so make sure that I don't have to encounter nightmares. Or I don't show up there at 7:30 on Friday and be like, what the fuck?
Yeah. Like, there's obvious times where
it's also kind of unfair to the restaurant to go on their peak time. And although, people are kind of like, they expect, well, I mean, it should always be great. But let's be honest, that's not the reality of life. So I generally will go, if a place opens at 11:30, I will be there at 11:31.
How do you feel about Yelp?
Huh?
How you feel about Yelp?
I'm just kidding. Hey, to be quite honest with you, I get along very well with Yelp, and I'm going to preface this and tell you why I love Yelp.
Okay.
When I did my first event, my first big event, which was the Burger Awards, which I mentioned to you earlier, that event got so much hype because I didn't know Yelp was actually promoting it. Yelp was only about a year old. Yelp and I kind of came around. I mean, now Yelp was a nationwide kind of thing, but I mean, in Miami, it had only been around about as long as my blog had been. So they actually did a Yelp party, and they actually took over part of my event. Yeah. I was like super freaked because I was like, if no one shows up, I'm gonna look like tremendo con mi mierda here. So I was actually hiding with my friends in a room, saying, "Oh my god, if nobody lets some people show up because please, if I walk out there's nobody there, I'm probably just gonna cry." And the place was crazy, And so Yelp's always been very cool with me. What I see is I use Yelp to find addresses. I'll be honest with you. Okay. I don't really believe what most of the people write because some people are malicious motherfuckers, and there's people there is like, I'm going to fuck this person over and write something shitty. And people are more inclined to write when they do a bad experience than when they have a good experience. So they could be like, reading it, you'll see a negative, and it's like, I've been coming here for 4 years, and they give a 1-star review. You've been coming for 4 years, and now you're going to fucking do a review, and it's just to trash them? Yeah. What about
all the good times?
About the good stuff?
Yeah.
Why don't you give them the opportunity to write the owner or write them and say, hey, to try and correct the situation? I don't understand that.
It's like the Wild Wild West because it's like you don't know what to believe on that shit anymore. You don't know if or is it really 4 stars really mean 4 stars, 5 stars? Like, what is this now? Because like now people are writing fake reviews, and all that shit. So it's like,
I know even the whole influencer kind of thing where these guys are just getting free food to go places
and get like good reviews. So
you get people following. So, for example, you that maybe you do pay attention. I'm very picky about where I go to eat, and I always pay for my meals. But there's people who a bunch of people follow who are just going around eating places that were given free food. And you might go eat there. You're like, oh, I saw so-and-so this place. But you don't know. They never say whether the food's good or not. Mm-hmm. I only post food if it's good. So they're just posting food because they got it for free, and that's their agreement. Yeah. I get the food in exchange for putting the...
So it's a different experience altogether. You know what I'm saying? Like that's why it's like it's hard for me to it's really hard for me to like listen. Like I always listen to what you say on food, but I know what kind of food you're gonna be eating. Like if I want to eat another type of food, there's not somebody else who's certified. Who's like, okay, I could trust his.
Well, tell me, give me an example of
like if I'm gonna eat something like that I want to eat that's good and healthy. You know what I'm saying?
There's no fucking nobody.
It's just like it's a toss up, and it's based on like what Yelp reviewers are saying. Like, yeah, this wrap was really good, and then you go and have the wrap, and it tastes like caca. Like,
you should talk. My friend, Mr. Fit Foodie. He's not but he knows all the stuff
of good food that's like healthy and shit like that. Yeah, because like your food is good food, but that's like cheat day food time. You know what I'm saying? Like I can't eat that shit.
I'm on a 24-hour cheat day, so.
Well, like I try to watch my shit and sit, so like I can't eat that all the time. Even though I really want to eat a pan de bono every fucking day with a coffee for breakfast, I really can't. So like if I'm trying to eat something good, it's always hard for me to like. I like this place Plate, but there's like Place right over here on Coral Way. It's good, it's healthy, and it's like quick, but. That's like, I go there all the time because ya estoy un poco cansado, you know what I'm saying? So like, I try to find some place else. And
but you can get pollo a la plancha in most Hispanic places.
Yeah, but some pollo a la plancha, you get it as rubber, bro. You've been to like, I don't want to name them names, but I had a pollo a la plancha the other day, and I was like, and it's a well-known place, and that shit was like, yo, straight un pedazo de, I don't even know, dog. That was the worst. And I was just like, and I paid $12 for this shit, like with rice and beans. Like, come on, man.
Well, that means they probably froze the chicken, more than likely. And then they froze it, defrosted it, and then they might have even microwaved it. Let's not even think about that because that's even worse.
So it's like one of those experiences. I don't really want to go through those experiences. So like, I mean, there's really nothing else for you to do except to go to Yelp. So like, we're just talking about chicken. Your next event that you're coming up, the chicken tender event.
Yeah, Love Me Tenders. Yeah.
Love Me Tenders. How did you come up with that one? Is it just that you love chicken tenders and you decide, okay. So you said, I want chicken tenders. I love chicken tenders and I want to curate a chicken tender event.
So the idea for the events usually are like, I like this particular type of food and I figure out what kind of event. Last year in place of chicken, we did Wiener Bash, which was a hot dog event. Wiener Bash was never got to the pot. We did it 2 years. It was never got to the popularity level of Hamburger House Party or Croqueta Palooza. So Wiener Bash will be kind of like a revolving event. So Hamburger House Party is always the main event, and we had Sugar Pie, which we do desserts.
Okay.
Again, something I tried as a big event didn't necessarily work, but I like the idea of it. So then this year we had Hamburger House Party with Sugar Pie. We're doing next year. It's going to be Hamburger House Party and Wiener Bash. So it's going to be burgers and hot dogs.
Okay.
Croqueta Palooza rotates with Flantastic, which is the flan competition, and next year we're bringing back To Showdown.
Damn, that's what's up, man.
Yeah, and so
that's a good lineup
so Love Me Tenders. What happens is, depending on how the reception is, if I do it again next year, if I think it has legs and it's going to grow to be something good, awesome. It'll grow to be a big event by itself. If I don't think it can, then it might be rotating in Hamburger House Party. It might be chicken tenders and burgers, but with Hamburger House Party being the main thing. We have plenty of events that we're planning to do. It's just the time. You know, there's a Venezuela Arepa event that we're planning for next year. We've had on the back burner forever a fritanga event.
A fritanga? You know what I would really want to see?
The issue is, but all the carnes asada are so close to each other.
This is what I want to see. I want to see a competition of Latin foods. So not like carne asada or like all versus carne asada. It's like which plate is the best Latin plate, because we all fight over this shit.
Completas,
like,
you mean?
Yeah, like whose completa is the best? Like Colombian completa, Cuban completa, Nica completa. Like people are fighting Puerto Rican completa, Dominican completa. Have you ever had tres golpes for breakfast?
No, I don't know.
Oh my God, tres golpes is a Dominican thing. They give you this like fried cheese, their version of fried cheese with un big mango, you know, some eggs and salami. What else? I'm missing something else there, man. But that tres golpes breakfast is ridiculous. Like the mango, because it's so plain and anything, but with the salchicha that's so salty, it's so good. Bruh, I can't even explain it to you. So like a competition of foods of the Latin American culture, and then like try to crown one completa the best, because that would be like the crowning event for like that particular person. You know what I'm saying?
So everyone gets pissed is what you're saying.
Everybody gets pissed, but somebody wins this event, and you hold the crown for that year, bro.
And what if I just do everyone else's second place, like you know how it's expected to do nowadays?
I don't know about that. I mean, bro.
Well, actually, no. That's one of the things I get told because there's a winner.
Yeah.
And that's it. There's a fucking winner.
Yeah. Like, there's a winner. There's nothing else.
You're not going to announce second and third? No, because there is no fucking. That doesn't matter. It only matters if you won.
Yeah.
Congratulations, you're second place. Bueno, that means nothing.
Yeah, runner up. Like, what are they also naming? Thoughts? Also thought or some shit like that. Some bullshit. I mean, that's something that I would like to see. Competition amongst the foods because
that's a good idea. I'm gonna steal it.
It's for you, bro. It's all about like I like the competition amongst the Latin Americans. I was raised here. I have shitload of Nica friends, Cuban friends, Colombian, Haitian friends. Have you ever had lambi?
No.
Oh man, have you ever had Haitian cuisine, man?
Yeah, some stuff.
Okay, griot is like
awesome.
That shit is fire as fuck, especially with they have this hot sauce called piclis, which is like a hot sauce that they ferment in like a Scotch bonnet and vinegar, and they put it. I'm
sure I tried it. I just didn't know the name of it. Yeah,
dude, that shit is hot as fuck. You only put like little sprinkles on the piclis, yo. Like, I want these people to like duke it out. You know what I'm saying? I want them to fight it out and see which plate is the best.
The issue also becomes a lot of times, you're dealing with some people don't get the idea behind the event.
Yeah.
It took a while to do the To Showdown.
Yeah.
And Mago, I met him. I met his daughter. It wasn't until I talked to his daughter and I was able to kind of, hey, look, this is what I'm doing. Then to do To Showdown, the first To Showdown had Sergio's, had Rey and Mago. And I was able to do a lot of cool stuff because, like I said, I love Rio Cristal. And other people don't know. I don't know if you remember. There was a famous restaurant called Lilas, which was very similar to Rio Cristal. And that's because the guy who founded Rio Cristal founded Lilas.
Yeah.
And they would do, the bistec a la palomilla with all the little papita juliana. Yeah. So I love those little potatoes from Rio Cristal. And me being friends with the guys from Pincho Factory, I said to them, you guys should do a sandwich and get the papitas from Rio Cristal. So that's how I first started working with Rio Cristal. I told them, hey, what if you come to the event and you make your papitas and then they're topping a Pincho Factory burger, and that's like, and then I started trying to do all these
hybrids.
Yeah, where I was like, I would introduce someone and I told Fireman Derek, hey, I love Fireman Derek's flan because he won the first Flantastic. And then I said, you know what you should do? You should do with hip pops, we does gelato pops, do a gelato flan pop. And then that was just crazy. And then I told Miss Cheesy's like Croqueta Palooza, you got to do a croqueta preparada grilled cheese,
Do you think that croquetas will get to a point where it's known like empanadas are very known internationally, nationwide, like anybody. You could be from South Dakota, you know what an empanada is, because media has picked up on it. Do you think croquetas will get to that point, or like?
Croquetas are known outside of Miami, obviously. I mean, just in the United States, it's kind of predominantly Miami.
Yeah.
Like obviously croquetas in Spain is just
it's
all
huge.
over the place, and France where they originated from.
Yeah.
But I think it will eventually. Look, fritas. When I first started writing about fritas, no one knew about it, and the truth is, when I think it was 2012, there's a program on Travel Channel called Burgerland.
Okay.
And I'm friends with the host George Motes.
All right.
And he asked me to come on, and he's when he first came to Miami, I took him to have fritas. He had never had it, and he was his mind was blown. And so he included Mago and Rey on the show.
All right.
And Pincho Factory. That's the first time Pincho Factory got national TV.
All right.
And because of that, all of a sudden, if I would Google fritas, I would find some obscure stories written by some Cuban, and it was translated.
Yeah.
Now, you see, like, there's people with fritas on the menu all over the United States.
Yeah.
I mean, they're not really fritas. I mean, like, I see what they look like and but it's their, I guess, attempt at not having tried it. And they're like, because there's also the thing that people haven't tried this and they think, I'm going to call it this. That doesn't necessarily make it so, like turkey, the people who call things turkey burgers, right?
That's like the people who call almond milk. It's not almond milk, it's like smashed up almond juice.
Well, that's what my wife drinks, and she's trying to convince me to have it.
I mean, it's not bad.
No, it's not bad. She was trying
to say that it's
she's
almond
duping me
milk.
by when she gives me coffee, she puts it in there, like seeing if I'll notice.
It's not gonna. Do you notice? Have you noticed?
Well, I noticed initially, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Now I'm accustomed to it, but when she first did it, I'm like, come on, who are you trying to drink?
Yeah, like my taste buds are refined, mama.
Yeah. Like I have Coca-Cola. Like I know that shit inside and out. Yeah. So like someone's like, oh, what do you? I'm like, what do you have to drink? And they're like, I have this, Pepsi, but I'll take water.
Yeah.
Like, no, you don't want. No, you don't have Coke. No, if my option isn't Coke, I'll take coffee or water, maybe orange juice.
Can you notice the Mexican Coke?
Yeah.
Mexican food is crazy.
So good. Yeah. Well, at the museum, we sell about 25 different colas, all glass bottle, and they're all sugarcane. None have corn syrup.
That's what's up.
Yeah, I got it from a distributor up in Tampa. So and it's noticeable. And I have like RC Cola there, or 7-Up and Sprite and all this stuff. I also have old colas like Frosty Root Beer. So we try rotating what sodas we have in there.
That's what's up, yo. How do you feel about that? Like when you mentioned right now how people are take certain foods and they name them other things. How do you feel about the gentrification of like Latin food like that? How does that, like, it's good because it's getting exposure, but at the same time it's like you're taking something that's like kind of mine. I feel a little some kind of ways, I'm not going to front. It's like, yo, this is something that's like, it's part of my culture. Like I grew up with this and you're taking it. Be nice to it. It's like take it and be nice to it. Don't be like an asshole to it and then like make it look shitty to your other friends that have never seen it before. That's my perspective. But like, how do you take that?
No, I see your side and I agree with you. Mm-hmm. I mean, sometimes I think if it's a bad representation of it and they're saying this is X thing, you're like, no, motherfucker, that is not
exactly.
That.
Exactly.
And don't start fucking pretending it is because we know it's not.
That's how I feel. That's kind of why I started the show, because I saw something about like, this is what Miami is, and it came from eyes of some dude from like New York, and I'm like, who the fuck is this guy to talk about what Miami is?
That's like a fine dining restaurant, and they do oxtail, and they do like Cuban, or they do Haitian oxtail or whatever, and you're like, no, dude. Yeah, you're just throwing Cuban or Haitian in there just so you can so people be like, oh, I'm being very ethnic and trying this stuff.
Like, no,
that's not really real deal. And I try not to use the word authentic because that's really not a valid term. Mm-hmm. Because there's people that's like, oh, I don't like that Mexican food because it's authentic. And I'm like, how the fuck do you know? Are you from Mexico?
Did you have this shit cooked for you at breakfast regularly? That's how you would know it was authentic. Well, thank you so much, bro, for coming on, talking to us, man. If people wanted to get in contact with you, reach out to you, what's the easiest way for them to reach out to you?
My assistant. No, I'm just kidding. No, we were just talking earlier and said I don't have an assistant.
By the way, I'm editing that part out. Your assistant.
Usually DM, man. I respond to anyone who writes me DM unless they're being shitty. Then I'll tell them to fuck off.
Okay. So you're a real person. You're genuine.
Oh yeah, I'm
alive in flesh.
And I'm unbearable sometimes. But but I'm real. I try to respond to I respond to every person who comments on my Instagram, who writes me. Unless you're being a come mierda, which at that point I may respond just to try and agitate you back
and block you out.
No, block you.
You don't block people?
I have more fun just pissing them off.
I see it. Travieso. You like being travieso.
No, man. Some people gotta. They have lessons to learn.
And you're the lesson giver. That's what's up, dog. And I hope I don't fucking come across one of those lessons, dog. Well, thank you so much, bro. I appreciate that for coming on and talking to us, letting us know what's going on in your world, how you put everything together, how you've gotten to this place. It's been 10 years now that you've been running your event, running your blogs, running your show, like doing your whole thing, like putting on for your brand. Where do you see yourself like in another 10 years?
The thing is, initially when I first started, I thought this was just going to be like a little hobby, and until I figured out what I was going to do with myself, I didn't think it would grow to this. And when I look back at some of the stuff we've done, we did a calendar one year. Yeah. And we did a burgers and broths where we had pinup models with burgers. And then when we set the Guinness World Record of food trucks, for me to say I have a Guinness World Record, it's been broken, but I have the certificate with Burger Beast on it. It's always cool, and we're always looking for projects to do. I haven't announced publicly, but my next project, it comes out in May. I'm doing a book called All About the Burger. It comes out in May. I'm currently writing it now, and I'm almost halfway done. That'll be done. My pop-ups were with my burgers,
your burgers that you're going to be making.
We've done a few pop-ups. We did one at Arbetters. We did one at Union Beer this past Wednesday. We're going to be doing at Amati Mix in November, and then and I'm doing not only burgers. I did Fritos at the Amati Mix. We're doing that one. If you follow me on Instagram, you'll see all the stuff I'm up to.
What's your Instagram handle?
Burger Beast.
Burger Beast.
And we're doing a dinners at the museum, which one of my favorite chefs, Phil Bryant, we came up with this idea to do a night at the museum. And essentially, we're going to set up tables inside the museum. We're going to be selling tickets. And he's going to be doing versions of fast food dishes that don't exist, like a McDLT or the old Checkers apple nuggets, old stuff like that. The McDonald's fries that were cooked in beef tallow.
Damn.
The Wendy's chicken corn blue sandwich, which was such a great sandwich.
Yeah, that was a good sandwich.
And a lot of that stuff. So we have like this gigantic list of all these old dishes that aren't around, or even McRib, which is only comes up every once in a while. And we're just going to be doing dinners, and then I'll be there talking about the history of the restaurant, the history of the dish, and he'll be talking about his. And
you should look into the Szechuan sauce from McDonald's.
I have some at the museum.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, the one cool thing from the relationships I created with the museum was McDonald's. Whenever they do anything, they send me stuff to put in display in the museum.
That's so fucking awesome.
Yeah, so I have the sauce there. I have the sauce. I'm lucky no one has tried breaking the glass to take it out of there.
Somebody might, yo. People love that
Big Mac sauce
shit
that they did like a year ago. They did just coins for the Big Mac for the 50th of the Big Mac. They sent me a whole set of coins, which is on display at the.
Shout out to McDonald's, yo. That's what's up, bro. Well, thank you so much, man, for coming on Burger Beast and talking to us, sharing what you're doing with the food culture here in South Florida, putting on for all these various people who have never really had the exposure before. Never had a chance to put on. Everybody knew them here locally, but you're now putting them on in a bigger stage, and I applaud you for doing that.
Thank you.
I applaud you for coming on and letting people know that you're still churning and doing new things and popping up with new experiences for them to enjoy with themselves and their families,
Thanks, man. The truth of the matter is the day I stop being real is the day I stop being. So
that's
if I start being fake, you won't see me anymore.
This is good, yo. I like you, dog. You straight up, I really like your fucking vibe, homie. That's why that's the kind of people I like fucking with. Till the next time, thank you so much. You know what it is. It's the Que Bola Podcast, hosted by yours truly, Doran Figueroa. Share, subscribe it, share it with your friends, share it with your enemies. Just share this shit, all right? Peace.
I first and foremost want to thank Burger Beast once again for coming onto the show and talking to us and letting us know how he's chopping it up, what he's doing, all the love that he's showing South Florida and South Floridians. I really want to thank you guys for soportándome un año entero. You know what I'm saying? Like a whole year. You guys have been actually less than a year, 10 months, but you guys have been there with me through and through, and you have been giving me support and showing me the love, and I really appreciate it. If you guys have any questions, any suggestions, anything, you can holler at me. It's WhatsApp, WASSA at FreshOrPhresh.com. That's WhatsApp at FreshOrPhresh.com. You can also hit me up on my IG, Fresh with an F or Fresh with a PH.com. You could DM me and I'll holler at you and we could get it popping. Yeah, this is the end of season 1. It's been a wonderful year. 25 episodes, 25 really colorful, cool people who are putting on for South Florida and doing their thing through their various ways. Hasta la próxima. We will come hard in season 2. You already know what it is. We have a lot of other awesome things that we're chopping up for you guys. So stay tuned, all right? FreshOrPhresh.com. Los amo. Gracias por todo. Hasta la próxima. Pueblo con tequerici. Ya tú sabes como una cosa aquí, here, metiendo mi quimbino all the time. You know what it is. Peace.
party, McDonald's catered it. They made Big Macs and the old school fried apple pies and chicken nuggets for everybody. And they brought the Hamburglar to the opening.
So McDonald's down.
Yeah. Oh, but Hardee's, Carl's Jr., super cool. Crystal, White Castle, Wendy's.
That's
all
cool.
Those places have been cool with me, sending me pictures, sending me stuff. A&W sends me. The owner of the oldest A&W opened in 1919. He just sent me like a box of stuff for the museum.
How is it that you determine like who's gonna be, like who do you want to incorporate into the museum? Like how do you decide that?
Right now, my base rule is whatever's in there's got to be 10 years or older. Okay. Because that's how long my blog's been around. So it's kind of like it's got to exist before my blog. But like I have stuff of Pincho Factory. I have Pincho Factory when they first opened. They used to have a do not park here Pincho Factory only, and I don't have it in the museum right now. But it's gonna be in there in a couple of years. I think it will be of age. All right, I think Pincho Factory turns 8 this year, so they'll almost. I have the original signs at the opening soon Pincho Factory signs. I have them. They were actually gonna throw them away, and they were totally messed up, and so.
All right, that's what's up, dog.